welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. So, tonight's Raw from January 30th, 2023 was a very noteworthy episode of Monday Night Raw. A lot occurred, a lot was announced, and Wrestlemania actually starting to take shape in January. My God. It's been a while since we knew everything we needed to know about, well, most of what we needed to know about WrestleMania going into February. Sometimes, especially in recent years, the WrestleMania card wouldn't be finalized until maybe 2 or 3 weeks out sometimes. So it's good to go back to the old era of, hey, this guy won the Royal Rumble, so we know who he's going to be wrestling, rather than dragging that out for 2 damn months. Well, what was that? What year was that? Where it seemed like they were never going to tell us who the, I think, was it just like a year or two ago with Bianca Belair, where they just dragged it out and dragged it out and dragged it out, and it was just kind of like, Jesus. But they let us know, of course, that Rhea Ripley will be challenging Charlotte. We'll be talking about that. But first, let's talk about Cody. So Cody comes out and he gets, you know how Cody is. You know Cody is a ham. So he's immediately already emotional. People are chanting, "You still got it." And he does his thing where he's getting teary-eyed and he kind of shakes his head like, can't let him see you sweat. Gotta protect myself. I can't show you my emotions, my feelings. And then he starts cutting this promo, and it was quite the promo. We was talking about not being the same person he was 15 years ago when he came into the business. That when he went into OVW, he thought he'd be world champion in 2 years. Thought he'd be the next John Cena. And he was delusional. He was clearly wrong. And he says if he could go back in time, would he tell the 19-year-old Cody about all the pitfalls that he had in his career? He said no, he wouldn't tell him anything because the journey is worth it. And that when he said wrestling has more than one royal family, he meant WWE has more than one royal family. And to be vindicated from this, he has to stand across the ring from the tribal chief. He had to stand across the ring from the bloodline to face the LeBron James of this generation. He said he respects Roman. At WrestleMania, Roman could continue being the head of the table. He could sit wherever he wants, but he cannot call himself WWE champion. And you know what? I was like, I like this. Every Cody promo comes across like a damn motivational speech. But I like this. You know, it was pretty simple. He continues to beat the drum about how he was here before and it didn't work out. That's part of his undeniable. I never can get that damn slogan right. Undesirable to undeniable. He was here before. The company treated him like crap, even though he did good stuff, like, you know, being an Intercontinental Champion, which he mentioned before. And the good stuff he did with Legacy and Dash and Cody Rhodes and all that kind of stuff. He was still treated like garbage. Then he left, recreated himself, and came back. And this is now the undeniable era. So he keeps beating that drum. He's also setting the stage between him and Roman Reigns as 2 children coming from prominent wrestling families. Of course, Cody's is not as deep as the Anoa'is, but, you know, his brother's pretty famous. His dad's super famous. So this is important. You know, the Rhodes versus the Anoa'is. So that's good. I actually like that's a nice little setup. And this is the storyline that they've been telling. Cody's been the golden boy for a long time. You know, he was supposed to be the one that was supposed to do it. You know, and it's been that way for a while. Everybody in their family has like the one. He's going to be the one that's going to make it. You know, the others, but this one, I think he's going to make it. I think Cody was the guy. You know, he was the one who didn't do drugs and want to get breast implants. And, you know, there wasn't the one that was like morbidly obese and ended up being a plumber on TV or something like that, wearing polka dots and shit. Even though he did end up at Stardust. I mean, that's just unfortunate. But Cody was the one. And Roman is the one. But there's been like more than one in the Anoa'is. You know, there's been more than one. Okay. So he's interrupted by Judgment Day. Specifically Finn Balor, who accused Cody of stealing all of his stuff. He's been stealing from him for 10 years. Specifically, he means the Too Sweet and the gun signal. The Bullet Club, and the Too Sweet. The Too Sweet, of course, they stole from the NWO, so that's not really Finn Balor stuff. He's just being a heel. But the gun signal, the Bullet Club stuff, yeah. When Cody won the Royal Rumble, he did a little nod to the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega with the little gun signal. Even though on WWE TV you can't really do it, that's why it was at an angle where you couldn't really see it. And then he did the Too Sweet thing, kind of showing that he's still representing them and their hopes and dreams. And it was fine. And anyway, Dominic got involved. So Dominic said that he should have won the Royal Rumble, and Cody ruined his moment by eliminating him. And he wants an apology. And what did he think would have happened to Cody if he'd have put his hands on him in prison? Which is hilarious. Cody says, like, "Are you trying to scare me straight?" Which, got everybody to laugh. And then Dominic, well, some people laughed. I'm not going to say everybody. He ain't that damn funny. And in any event, Dominic is listening to Cody talk about how much he respects Ray. And Dominic says he doesn't give a damn about his dad. He doesn't respect his father. And he damn sure doesn't respect Cody's. Now the crowd is chanting kick his ass. They want him to beat the tar out of Dominic Mysterio, which is, yeah, he should want to beat up Dominic Mysterio. Instead of wanting to beat up Dominic Mysterio, who just said he didn't care about his dad, Cody said that he will fight anybody in Judgment Day. And we ended up with Finn Balor. But before, the match or whatever, Edge jumped Judgment Day and they got into a bit of a fight, which of course leads to Judgment Day scattering all over the building. Because that's what they do when Edge comes around. They just hightail it. They get the hell out of there quick as possible. Quick as possible. Later, Finn Balor is, he's not miserable like he was in NXT, but he has miserable tones sometimes. Till Edge, I work Mondays. And I'm like, okay. So again, he once more said that Cody has been stealing from him. And then said that he's going to make him pay tonight. So the main event of the evening, Finn Balor, Cody Rhodes, first time ever. I would have thought you would have saved this match for a bigger stage, but then again, I mean, it's storyline, I guess. So it's fine, I suppose. Cody wins the match, of course, with 3 crossroads. Edge, of course, attacked Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio outside the ring before being knocked down by Rhea Ripley. Beth Phoenix came out there to fight Rhea Ripley off. Edge also distracted Finn Balor as he was about to win with the double stomp, which allowed Cody to get the win. A solid enough main event. A lot of run-ins, a lot of interference. That's becoming a big thing in WWE. It's a lot of run-ins and interference. I mean, it is what it is. But these two guys definitely could have put a lot more story into what they were doing. But it was fine. It was a serviceable main event. Of course, this is going to lead to maybe Edge and Cody being tag team partners against the Judgment Day. Some kind of mixed 6-man tag or something like that. Maybe Cody, Edge, and Beth Phoenix versus Dominic, Damian Priest, and Rhea Ripley, maybe. Or maybe Dominic, Finn Balor, and Rhea Ripley. However they choose to go with that in Judgment Day. But, the Edge thing is still going on. I don't mind it. I kind of figured it was going to continue. They won a I Quit match in the most underhanded way possible. So, and I like that they're using Edge, but they're saving him. Right now, he's just basically the Hulk. He just wants to pop up and smash stuff. He doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to cut any promos. And there's going to be times in future episodes where they're going to need somebody there to talk. And Edge will be the guy to probably do the talking. Right now, if you've been following the story, Edge really ain't got too much to say. He's just been trying to get his hands on any member of Judgment Day he can get his hands on at that particular moment in time. And his wife is there to bodyguard him for Rhea Ripley. Okay. So I don't have a problem with this. Cody is, again, like I said, He's laying out the table of what his story with Roman Reigns is going to be about. It's going to be about two wrestling families and essentially him doing it for his dad, which is the story that they set when he first came into the company. And, you know, the story that they set when he came back. So, I'm okay with this. A lot of people are still going to be tight-assed about the whole Sami Zayn thing. I suggest you write that on a sheet of paper, put it down on the floor, and jump over it. That's because anything that can help you get over it is better. I know it's all about story, but has to be a believability factor to it, and Sami Zayn just does not have it. Also, very glad to not see Sami Zayn or the Usos or Roman Reigns on this show. I'm glad everybody took the night off. I just felt like it was necessary after the drama of Monday. Giving these guys a couple of days to let that shit sink in, and to get to people who didn't watch it to actually go and see it, or give them an opportunity to see it, is even better. We'll talk about the success of the Royal Rumble later. There's some stuff I want to talk about, but I didn't want to put it in news and notes. We'll just wait. All right, so tonight's all of the matches, well, most of the matches rather, were for elimination qualifiers. Everybody who thought that there's going to be a Universal title Elimination Chamber match, I don't know why you thought that. I don't know why you thought that somebody was going to win the Elimination Chamber match and wrestle for one of Roman's belts. I don't know why you thought that either. They were never going to do that. I kept saying that they weren't going to do that, and then it was confirmed. They're not doing that. They're doing United States Championship and the Raw Women's title, which are smart. Okay, we'll talk about the women's division in a moment. But right now we're talking about the United States title, which features all of the same characters we've been watching on Raw for the past 3 months. Match 1, Chad Gable versus Seth Rollins. Chad Gable, I mean, Triple H must have some NDAs in a lockbox somewhere. Got to. How does this guy make it on every episode of Monday Night Raw? Every single one features a Chad Gable match. How does it happen? How? There are some people in this company that we haven't seen in forever, and Chad Gable is on TV every single week. Every week. That's not to say that this match was bad. It was actually oddly competitive, with Chad Gable actually being able to hang with Seth Rollins before he loses to the pedigree. I was shocked that they let Chad Gable get so much, but then again, at the same time, I'm not really all that surprised, considering, you know, WWE has now become a work rate promotion. So now guys who, and look, I'm not saying that Chad Gable doesn't have a personality or a character or anything like that, but it's pretty clear that he is where he is for a reason, and they're not in a rush to move him forward. So him being featured is just because they want to sprinkle a good match fairy on the show. It's like, how about some progression, for Christ's sake? How about moving this thing forward at some point? Whatever. Match 2 in the Elimination Chamber qualifier. Baron Corbin versus Johnny Gargano. Oh my goodness. Oh, they was having a mid-off. Jesus. Johnny Gargano wins. I was praying to make it through this beat. You know, there was a bum-ass Corbin chant, which is always funny. Corbin was pretty brutal in this match, chokeslamming him on the barricade and on the ring apron and stuff. Johnny willing to take bumps. JBL gets involved at one point, which led to Dexter Lumis whipping out the axe. So the axe is back. JBL cleared out, but he moves like Andre now. So he's like, "Whoa, I got to get over this barricade." And if it was like, and if Dexter Lumis had any mind to chop up JBL, there was nothing JBL could do to stop him. I mean, he looked like he was walking on stilts, for Christ's sake. He definitely wasn't going to get away from a axe-wielding maniac. But putting Johnny Gargano in this match, fine. Fine. Oh, who cares? All right. Dolph Ziggler was defeated by Bronson Reed. Before the match, Mustafa Ali mocked Dolph Ziggler for getting handed yet another opportunity. And Dolph Ziggler, of course, tried to blow it. I was about to say blow him off, but, phrasing, pause. He tried to disregard Mustafa Ali. A lot of people starting to notice that Mustafa Ali is pretty whiny. I mean, he was already fairly whiny, but he's gotten like whiny on a different level now. It's like, well, I mean, I can see his point though. I'm not saying that the guy doesn't have a point. I wouldn't bother Dolph though. I mean, yeah, I think you probably could. I think Dolph is a safe bet. He's been around for a long time, not really achieving too much. And magically, he wasn't in the Royal Rumble, but magically he's in the Elimination Chamber qualifier. And it's like he hasn't won a match since Trump was in office. Like, when the last time fucking Dolph Ziggler won a match? I don't know. But that would be around the same time Mustafa Ali won a match, for Christ's sake. Neither one of them should be in this joint. But Bronson Reed wins. This is fine. Bronson Reed was impressive, as usual. I don't understand why would you put him in the Elimination Chamber if he's not going to win. That's my question. And why put Bronson Reed in it if he's not going to win? I don't know. The next week's qualifiers is going to be for the last two spots. There's going to be Damian Priest versus Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford versus Elias. I'm almost certain that we're going to have Damian Priest and Montez Ford in the Elimination Chamber match. That's fine. I actually love the idea of Montez Ford being in the Elimination Chamber. That's fun as hell. Damian Priest too. Both of those are fun ideas. I just don't see Elias being put in the Elimination Chamber match. I think that unless Triple H is still suffering like some kind of oxygen loss to his head, he wouldn't put a dude like Elias in there. You just wouldn't do it, Like, I know you're doing a lot of things that don't make no sense. But you're doing a lot of things that do make sense too. So make that make sense. But the idea of having a United States Championship Elimination Chamber match, I don't have a problem with that. I think it's smart, I think this is the first one ever. It's the first United States Championship Elimination Chamber match. I know they had the Intercontinental Championship one. That was won by Ryback. At least I think that was the one that was won by Ryback. And that didn't turn out too well. But this one should be okay. My problem with this is that it features a lot of the same people that, Austin Theory has been wrestling for the last, I don't know, like I said, 3 months. Speaking of Austin Theory, he was on the MVP VIP lounge where him and MVP argued about Bobby Lashley. It was two heels. So this segment was pretty difficult to get through. Also, they have limited Austin Theory's verbal skills to such and such is the past, I'm the future, that kind of thing. MVP said something that really raised my eyebrows, of course, by saying that Lashley is more dangerous than Undertaker to Austin Theory, which is a perfect layup for Austin Theory to say, well, I beat him twice. Like, yeah, it's true. I just don't understand why Lashley is still involved with this. Anyway, MVP backed down and said, well, me and Lashley don't do business anymore, so I'm not going to defend him. I'm not going to speak on his behalf. Then Austin Theory and MVP started getting in each other's faces, and Lashley just decided to come down there and just mow down Austin Theory. Austin Theory ends up pulling MVP in the way, and Lashley speared him. So they're continuously telling this story that with MVP and Lashley, but they're also, for some odd reason, continuing Lashley and Austin Theory. Look, I'm perfectly okay if Seth Rollins and Lashley get away from Austin Theory. Please get away from this kid. Please. For Christ's sake, it's unnecessary losses for these guys who we should be trying to build up. And Austin Theory needs, opponents that he can stand with and talk to. He should be like a champion that's wrestling a lot of different people. The Elimination Chamber is a great test for him. It's a great challenge. I like that idea. But sometimes just the people that they put in it is probably not really that great of an idea. Now, when it comes to MVP and Lashley, it's probably going to be Lashley trying to apologize, and MVP like, yeah, it ain't no big deal. I know you didn't mean it, but trying to use that as a icebreaker to get Lashley to start talking about them doing business again. That's really all. That's really all the MVP cares about, is being the handler for the champion or a top guy. That's what he cares about. But I'm interested in where we're going from here. I want more for Austin Theory than these guys are willing to give. I don't know. Maybe I'm asking for too much. But I got a feeling he'd be in a much different situation right now if Vince was still behind the wheel. I think Austin Theory would be in a much different position right now. Continuing with the United States Championship, Seth Rollins, of course, thinks he's going to win the Elimination Chamber. He was asked about Logan Paul and essentially had no comment by just kind of wandering off. So it seems like we are going Logan Paul, Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. That's fine. Again, got to talk about the story. What kind of story is it going to be? I know some people are a little disappointed. They may have wanted Seth Rollins to have a bigger role, but I think this is fine. He's going to have another showcase match of his own on the card. You can't complain about that. So I just wish that he was not going to take another loss to Austin Theory, because he's not going to win the United States title. So him getting pinned again is goofy to me. Same thing with Bronson Reed. Shouldn't be in this match if he's going to lose. Lashley shouldn't be in this match if he's going to lose. But it doesn't seem like Lashley's actually going to be in it. Austin Theory said Lashley wasn't going to be in it. And then for looking into the future, there's only going to be 2 spots left. And Lashley is not going to be open for either spot. So the Elimination Chamber match is more than likely going to be Seth Rollins, Montez Ford, Johnny Gargano, Damian Priest, Bronson Reed, and Austin Theory. Okay. If you say so, boss man. I'm not going to argue with you. I just don't see the purpose of putting guys in it who's not going to win. Maybe we don't need a United States Championship Elimination Chamber. Maybe we don't need that. Maybe we needed something else. But at the same time, I mean, it's a good challenge for Austin Theory, especially if they plan to have him wrestle John Cena. They're still not doing enough, in my opinion, to get him to that level. You have to do more. He's been kind of on ice for weeks. I don't see how he's competitive with John Cena yet. I just don't see it. All right, third match on the show. Io Sky defeats Candice LeRae. It was simple. Damage Control uses the numbers game to distract the ref, distracts Candice, and Io wins with a roll-up. This match was actually pretty enjoyable. I didn't have a problem with this. Bayley looked amazing tonight. Auntie Pam was looking pretty scrumptious, She looked like she teaches other girls how to sell pussy, which is not a bad thing, Ain't nothing wrong with being a madam. Anyway, she came out later, and her and Becky got into it, which was interesting. Very interesting. So, Bayley she comes out to gloat about beating up Becky Lynch before the cage match and eliminating her from the Royal Rumble, and said she wasn't leaving the building without talking about this. Becky Lynch came out there, said that she already won the Royal Rumble before, doesn't really need to win it again, but wanted to make sure that Bayley and none of her friends actually won it. Bayley called that an excuse. And then after she ran down all of the excuses that Becky Lynch likes to make, she just made it clear, I don't like you, Rebecca, which I was like, oh, that's personal. Then she said that she thinks Rebecca is overrated, not good enough to be the champion, not good enough to wrestle her again, and not even good enough for her husband, and said that Seth only married you because you got knocked up. And at that point, Becky was like, I thought this was about wrestling. I thought this was about wrestling. It's like, it's not about wrestling, man. This is personal beef now. Anyway, Becky Lynch wanted the cage match. Bayley said no, which of course she's gonna say no. Becky Lynch goes to the back and she pulls poor Dakota Kai out into the aisleway. I was like, there's no garbage can out here for you to put her in. Why would you bring her to the aisleway? There's more garbage cans. Unless there's some like off to the side behind the LED boards, you're taking her in the wrong direction. You should drag her outside the building. You know, that's where you take trash and you put it on the curb. You don't leave it in the aisleway. That's just, you know, that's littering. You don't litter. Kids, don't litter. Don't dump your small anime girlfriends in the aisleway. Your Twitch streamer girlfriends or whatever. I'm sorry. I know y'all like Dakota Kai. I don't. She's boring. All right. Which is the most cardinal sin of all wrestling or television is you can be bad. Bad can be funny. But she's boring. Until she can, as long as she maintains boring, I don't care what they do with her, they can drag her all across the earth. But unfortunately, we're not going to get that much. Anyway, Becky threatens to beat Dakota Kai's legs with a chair unless Bayley agreed to give her the match. Bayley immediately sort of surrenders and showing that she cares for her girls, which is a nice little sweet little moment there. You know, you would have think that she would have been a little bit more cutthroat and be like, I dare you. You're not going to do it. I dare you. It is, you know, forced Becky to do it, called her bluff. But no, she gave up. Then Becky Lynch says that she can bring her friends to the cage match next week. But she said she needs to go look to see what's going on with Io first. And I don't think we ever got an update on what happened to Io. If she did. Did she get put in a blender? I don't know. We don't know. We don't know. The Bayley Becky thing is starting to turn personal. I like it. I feel like it should have been personal from the beginning. Like, that's kind of how I feel like, yeah, we're taking these certain steps to these characters. But just like the whole NXT thing, you know, I think we definitely should have started this stuff a lot sooner. But it seems to me that the storyline is that Bayley is jealous of Becky Lynch's success. Similar to, it fits Bayley's character, you know. Bayley was jealous of Sasha Banks. She was jealous of Bianca Belair. Now she's jealous of Becky Lynch. And trying to hit Becky Lynch where it hurts. You know, talking about her family and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting. I wonder how far we're going to go with this, because something tells me, not just because I saw it online, which I did, that this cage match is not going to be the end. Because literally, who else would they be wrestling? Because, you know, there's nothing else for Bayley. Bayley and Becky Lynch have spent so much time fighting each other that really I don't see a WrestleMania future for either one of them. So the only option would be for them to continue to be tied together for the next 2 months. So what are they going to do for 2 months? And what kind of match would they possibly have if a cage match is not going to be able to blow it off? I don't want to hear anything about any goddamn Hell in a Cell matches at WrestleMania. Maybe a hair versus hair match. You know, that could be fun. You know, Becky Lynch, Bayley, hair versus hair. Now, that could be dope. You know, is Bayley willing to cut her hair? Is Becky willing to cut her hair? I don't know, man. Oof, that's a tough one. You know, but hair grows back, so it'll be like awkward for a couple of weeks. But, you know, female hair too, it also grows back pretty quickly. But I like the idea of Bayley and Becky making this thing personal, and the jabs that Bayley is throwing is good stuff. You know, I wish we had started doing this a little sooner, because now it feels like we're dragging on. And Becky, who is smart, should have had some backup by now, but apparently she didn't think of it. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't know. All right, let's talk about Rhea Ripley. So Rhea Ripley decided to pick Charlotte. and everybody lost their mind. So similar to the Austin Theory change, I mean, that hard change where he had the Money in the Bank briefcase, but it was Vince who gave it to him. And so they were like, we don't want him anywhere near the title, so we're going to do something stupid with him, like have him cash it in on the United States title and then lose. And then everybody's going to look like, what the fuck? Like, that was one of the most hard reboots ever. Nobody would ever do anything that stupid. It still remains one of the dumbest things they have ever done in the business. It's quite stupid. They're hoping people forgot about it, but they didn't. Now, another hard change, and a lot of people noticed this, because I think we all took it for granted, was that it was pretty clear that Vince was building towards Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley. You know, the Elimination Chamber, I think it was it last year or 2 years ago, where they were in the match together and they were doing monkey see, monkey do, and Rhea was getting frustrated because Bianca was, I'm tired of you stealing my thunder or whatever. And then the Royal Rumble, where they both were the final two, and Rhea fell short against Bianca. It seemed like eventually that's where Vince was going. He was going to go Bianca, Rhea Ripley. And Rhea Ripley winning the Royal Rumble, it seemed like that would be the natural thing. If you go back to, if you've been following the product, there's been quite a few stare downs and evil glares between Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, and that's where you would think they would go. But Vince isn't in control anymore. Triple H, going back to 2022 or 2020, pandemic era, always felt like there should have been more between Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. The dweebs online reminded me, thank you dweebs, about an interview that Triple H did shortly after WrestleMania 36, where he talked about the story between Rhea Ripley and Charlotte being fleshed out more in a couple of months following WrestleMania, because people were so upset that Rhea Ripley lost her NXT Women's title to Charlotte. But we never really got that. It never really went anywhere. It just kind of like Charlotte just dropped the belt and went back on to SmackDown doing whatever it is she was doing. And Rhea Ripley was kind of left in the lurch for 2 years, So they decided to use that to fuel Rhea Ripley's current character. So now Rhea Ripley says that, 2 days ago, she disrupted the status quo by winning the Royal Rumble from the number one. And she's going to disrupt the status quo again, because the status quo right now is that Charlotte is always on top and that Charlotte is at the top of her game. That she talked about 3 years ago, Charlotte put her in her place, humbled her by beating her at WrestleMania. This year, she's going to, of course, rewrite that narrative. She's going to beat Charlotte, put Charlotte in her place this year at WrestleMania. So the story is there, there's meat on the bone, but it took everybody by surprise that Rhea Ripley would want to fight Charlotte. That took everybody off surprise, because we thought the money is going to be in Bianca Belair needs to have a villain for her to fight. She's too big and strong, We need something. We need something else, and we know that they were actually leaning towards. Wait a minute, what was they doing? It was 1 year where they were kind of leaning towards Ripley. No, I think Ripley filled in for Charlotte 1 year. I think they were doing Asuka and Charlotte again, and then Charlotte missed WrestleMania. And then they put Rhea Ripley in there. I think that's what happened in 37. Or was it 38? It was one of the two. But I had it all jumbled in my head. I thought it was supposed to wrestle back then, but no, it was I think Asuka and Charlotte that was supposed to happen. That was last year, I think, because Rhea won the belt, and then she lost it for no apparent reason, and we ended up in the negative zone with like Nikki Cross and all that shit happening. In any event, having Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte again, it has the history for them to play off of. It is something that would probably bother the Rhea Ripley character, that she was beat at WrestleMania by Charlotte, and she wants a rematch. She wants this big opportunity. It will be a good match, you know. So you got the story, you got the characters are interesting enough. They have history. There's no reason why you wouldn't do it outside of we were not building to this. You know, like this is just like Charlotte was just became the champion like 3 weeks ago. You know, so we couldn't have been building to this. This was basically hot shotted. We hot shotted the belt onto Charlotte because this is the direction Triple H wants to go in, rather than continuing the course of action that Vince set, which is Charlotte, well, Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair, which would have left the SmackDown title in the lurch because, you know, it'd still be on Ronda Rousey and nobody would care. But now the Raw Women's title is in the lurch because Bianca Belair, who was supposed to be on this show, was apparently cut from the show. And her opponents for Elimination Chamber, and look, I'm not about to cut any slack on this. You know, this is a mess. All right. So Adam Pearce decides to try to explain how we're going to do the Raw Women's title picture. And so Bianca Belair is apparently not going to wrestle anybody for the next, I don't know how many weeks, unless she's going to continue her business with Alexa Bliss, which we don't know. So the Elimination Chamber match is not for the title. It is a number one contenders match. Perfectly fine. So I'm figure, all right, so for the men, you're doing qualifying matches and everything. So I guess we're going to do qualifying matches for the women. That way, you know, at least it's somewhat fair. But no, they're not doing that at all. What they're going to do is they're going to pick the final 4 women in the Royal Rumble outside of the winner. So Rhea Ripley won. So the other 4 losers who lasted, I guess, long in the match, which would be Nikki Cross, Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan, and Asuka. Okay. Liv Morgan and Raquel are SmackDown wrestlers. Wow. Does that not matter? I'm guessing that just doesn't matter anymore. So that wasn't even it. So those 4 are automatically in the match by virtue of losing a different match. That had nothing to do with any of this. 2 of which is on SmackDown. Okay. But that's not it. The Fatal 4-Way next week is going to pick another spot. So the Fatal 4-Way is going to be Candice LeRae, who lost on this show, Piper Niven, who haven't been on this show in weeks, Michin, who again I think she won a match last week, maybe, and Carmella, who will be making a return, an in-ring return. That they decided not to make a big deal out of it. They just kind of said, oh yeah, Carmella's going to be back. And I'm kind of like, oh, okay. So the winner of Carmella, Michin, Piper Niven, and Candice LeRae will get a spot, but that's still only 5 spots. It's a 6-person match. So who's going to be the 6th person? I guess that's the question. But I know that the SmackDown women's division is, you know, shredded cheese, you know, so having Rhea Ripley go over there, perfectly fine. I can even understand that. That adds to why Ripley, Charlotte would be a good idea. But we got enough people on Raw, surely, don't we? That we could have an Elimination Chamber match where just the Raw female wrestlers. But then again, we might not. I don't know. It's like at that point we would have to have qualifying matches that feature Asuka versus Dana Brooke. You know, Nikki Cross versus, you know, I don't know, Michin in a qualifying match. And it's kind of like, okay, we could be fair and we could say all of the women have to wrestle in order to get into the match. Or we could say, you know what? Let's just pretend we did that already and just skip over that part and just put 4 of them in. And then we'll make a Fatal 4-Way for the last spot, which is a Triple H regular thing now. You know, he doesn't know what to do with the women's division, so it just becomes Fatal 4-Ways, 6-woman tags, 6-pack challenges, and that whole thing, right? So the male architect of the women's division of NXT has no faith in any of these women in order to have singles matches that are presentable on television. So he decided to just throw them all in fatal four ways and triple threat matches and 6-woman tags and all that kind of stuff. But it's weird because he still does have singles matches between all these characters on Raw. All right. I think that now that we know the situation of how the Raw Women's title is going to go, I think it's pretty obvious that Asuka is going to win this. And it's going to be Asuka versus Bianca Belair. And Asuka's no consolation prize, all right? She has gone and changed her body and changed her persona. She scared Carmella on this show today by slobbering blue paint or whatever the hell it was. She's going back to dressing nicely. She's no longer, kind of full in character all the time. There's a creepy aspect to Asuka now that I really, really like. I've always been a big fan of Asuka. And I love the idea of Asuka versus Bianca Belair. I know I crowed about it. Maybe, what was this? Earlier this year? Or late last year or something? No, it wasn't this year. It was last year. Where they had Asuka versus Bianca Belair on like a random episode of Raw. And I was like, what the fuck? You should definitely build for this. And it seems like that's what they're going to do. Where, Asuka's going to be a human buzzsaw. And Bianca Belair is like the, indestructible force or whatever. That's good. I just wish that we could did this better. I would, there's 100 things you could have done rather than we got to have a women elimination chamber match. No, we don't. We could have not did a women's elimination chamber match at all. We could have not done that. You could have done a tournament. You could have done, I don't know, what else. But we got to have a women's elimination chamber match, so now we got to put women in it. So now we're going to put women in here who shouldn't be taking losses for no reason. Raquel shouldn't be in this match. Nikki Cross doesn't deserve to be in this match. Michin doesn't deserve to be anywhere near this. Same thing can be said for Carmella and Piper Niven and Candice LeRae. These people just should not be anywhere near this match. But they're going to be there. It's unfortunate. Also, I'm guessing, just a little bit of a guess, that they'll probably have the winner of Becky Lynch and Bayley in the Elimination Chamber match too. Which I don't think they announced, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's what they decided to do. Unless, they didn't do anything with Nia Jax tonight, so I'm guessing she's probably going to be on SmackDown. But they did do something with Chelsea Green, so now maybe Chelsea Green is going to be the 6th person that they put into this match. So, if everybody's been talking about the Chelsea Green quote unquote Karen character, I need to speak to the manager, and so she rolls up on Adam Pearce, asks him if he's the manager. He says he is. Then she starts complaining about her accommodations, no Swiss chocolate, no private locker room, and saying that she's not just a new free agent, a new signing. She is Chelsea Green. And it's like, well, before Meltzer poisoned the well with this whole Karen thing, in the past 2 or 3 years ago, she would have been seen as basically like a diva, a Mariah Carey. Nobody can look at me. Make sure all of my M&Ms are yellow or whatever the hell. Which, rock stars and divas have those kinds of mentalities. They have those kinds of that level of arrogance and self-importance. And you would think that would make sense for her character, but they decided to go the Karen route, quote unquote, where she's just going to complain all the time. And okay, they think that's going to work, but is Chelsea Green going to, with this gimmick and this character, do you really want to put her in the Elimination Chamber? She seems to be a comedy character right now. And she's doing comedy right out of the gate. So it's not like she's like, we don't have nothing to do for you, so here, go do a joke. It's like, no, they pitch jokes to her and she's going to do jokes. Okay, whatever. But this women's division, now, at least it's clear on SmackDown where the title is going. On Raw, I'm guessing it's a little bit clearer, but Bianca is going to be inactive for a while, or at least tied down to Alexa Bliss, which is no good. Not good at all, brother. I promise you, that's not good. All right. So The Miz was out there talking about complaining. Notice somebody called The Miz a Karen. He came out there complaining about everything. Complaining about how he should have been number 30, how, he got treated at the Royal Rumble, and all these sorts of things. He even did, he started his own chant with saying that people in person was yelling at him first man out, which was a short chant from the audience. It didn't really catch on the way that things like Tiny Balls did. It's amazing how that shit stuck together, right? Anyway, Miz wants some respect. He's demanding some respect. So Adam Pearce marches out there and says that, oh yeah, Miz wants an opportunity. There's another guy who wants an opportunity, and it's Rick Boogs. Rick Boogs. And Adam Pearce sets up a match between Rick Boogs and The Miz, while The Miz is wearing a suit. And of course, The Miz gets a gorilla press slammed and pinned almost immediately. And I wrote in the margins, because that's where I write like most of my ideas. The Miz has become a welcome mat. Pretty much anybody who returns, was fired and come back or whatever, they have to beat up The Miz or be involved with some way with The Miz. It's like, why would you separate Rick Boogs from Shinsuke Nakamura when they were working? Look, Boogs is like, I'm not going to lie to you though. That dude is like 80% charisma. Like, he has charisma. He has character. Like, they did a backstage thing with Boogs and the Street Profits and all that kind of stuff. They kind of teased Boogs having a problem with, or Elias is going to have a problem with Boogs. And it's going to tie into both of them being musicians, but different kinds of music, apparently. So Boogs is back there, booging out. That's like they called it. Oh my God, it was so ridiculous. He just kept saying that it feels good to be back. He feels like a ball of lightning. He feels like a lightning rod and all that kind of stuff. And he lets out the Freddie Mercury scream, and Elias is standing there and he looking not that impressed. Then said that Rick Boogs has potential, but he's not on his level yet. So the Street Profits are like, wait a minute, you ain't got to be no hater. And this was before we find out that Elias is going to be wrestling Montez Ford. Montez Ford, who called him the US champion. Not the US champion, the US champion. Weird. Anyway, Rick Boogs defeats The Miz. The Miz deserves better. I don't dislike Rick Boogs. I really don't. I just feel like it came out of nowhere. And he's been hurt for so long with no build up to his return. No real discussion about him even being gone. He just a guy who was really over. Then WrestleMania happened. He blew out his knee. He's been gone since. And nobody even thought about him. That should tell you a little bit about, the crowd reacting positively towards you and you being over. Like nobody... Rick Boogs came back and everybody was kind of like, did I ever see this guy before? He was announced like a big deal. Rick Boogs! And everybody was kind of like, it sounds familiar, but I'm not completely sure if I know who this guy is. But Boogs is jacked. He's got muscles. He's got charisma. I say give him a chance. I'm going to give Boogs a chance. Always about giving guys who put themselves in a good position. You get in shape, take care of yourself, got some charisma, some personality. I'm willing to give you a shot. Willing to play ball. All right. I just feel like The Miz is a guy who should not be the welcome mat of WWE at this point where, oh yeah, you're an NXT call up. Wait a minute, you're coming back from an injury? Here, go beat up The Miz. Like, no, I don't like that usage of The Miz. I don't. You know, again, he's consistent enough where he can bounce back from it. But I'm not thrilled about it. So it was a notable, important Raw. You know, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed most of the matches. They existed for a reason. Even Candice LeRae versus the EO Sky existed for a reason. In terms of, you know, Candice was eliminated by Damage Control. The only one that was kind of random was Rick Boogs and The Miz. That was random and seemed to come out of nowhere. Also, I guess you could say Finn Balor and Cody was kind of random, considering there was no heat between the two of them that was built up over this, as much as it was just kind of call them Damage Control, Judgment Day, getting into Cody's business. So it was fine as a comeback from the Royal Rumble. I think it was pretty solid. Of course, it didn't build off the main story. That's a SmackDown story anyway. But I think it did a good job of setting things up. Surrendering one of their big stars and Rhea Ripley to Raw, to SmackDown rather. That's going to be a bold decision because I'm guessing that Rhea Ripley will now start making appearances on SmackDown. Like she would have to, right? So what are we going to do about Judgment Day? Are we going to move all of Judgment Day to SmackDown in the draft or something like that? Because that's what it seemed like we will have to do in order to keep Judgment Day together. I don't know, man. But let's talk about the Royal Rumble real quick. So the Royal Rumble became the highest grossing event of all time. Well, the highest grossing Royal Rumble event. So from Business Wire, it says the event set an all-time gate record at more than 7.7 million, far surpassing the previous Royal Rumble high in 2017 by more than 50%. Viewership of that event saw a 52% increase versus the previous record set in 2022. In addition, the 2023 Royal Rumble broke all-time venue merchandise and sponsorship records. Merchandise sales were up 135% versus the record set in 2022. Royal Rumble sponsorship revenue was up nearly 200% versus 2022 and featured the first ever sponsored match, the Mountain Dew Pitch Black match, and sponsored countdown clock for Applebee's. On social media, the Roman Reigns Sami Zayn videos generated 20 million plus views across all WWE platforms. That became the most viewed WWE clip of 2023. Amazing. There was some other guys, some Matt Men podcast guys, who claimed 2 million people actually watched the Royal Rumble on Peacock. Now, some people say that, it's a bad thing. It's horrible. It's only 2 million people. It's like 20 million people on Peacock. It's like, it's always going to be like a subsection of people who are just not interested in wrestling. But 2 million people, that's about SmackDown's entire audience, you know? So that should tell you that if you are at least watching SmackDown, you're interested in what's going on at the show. They got you, you know, and who knows, maybe some of those people are unique viewers and they never really watched the program before. You know, they watch it, they skim through it. Maybe they do something else while it's on. But, you know, having everybody sitting around on Peacock watching the stuff at the same time, that's got to be big for NBC. Even if it is just 2 million viewers, that's got to be big, you know. So, Royal Rumble did great business. WWE continues to do great business. It's not perfect, clearly. But I will say this on the Royal Rumble tip. I watched the Royal Rumble matches again. They were more enjoyable the second time. And I think part of what makes the matches a little bit better is that you're not expecting big surprises, big legends, and all that kind of stuff. So once that excitement has come down, it's better. Because now you're just taking in what did happen instead of thinking about what should have happened. You know, oh man, is The Rock coming? Oh man, is so and so coming? It's gonna big free agent's gonna show up. You're not thinking about that anymore because you've already seen the match. You already know what's gonna happen. So you're able to digest it a little bit more. And so I think that those matches are going to age better because there weren't that many big surprises or anything like that. But, once your expectations come down, you'll see that it wasn't that awful. I don't think they were the worst Rumble matches ever. That don't mean that they were great, but I don't think they were the worst. Anyway, I'm rambling. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you guys for your time. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.